Today we're going to cover your assignment number 2, stock returns. The assignment is due on the due date on instructions. What we want to do today is we want to gather historical data of your stock and the market benchmark, which for us this would be S&P 500, and compare and contrast their returns. So how are we going to do that? First, let's pull up your assignment instructions. So if we go to Canvas, you go to Canvas, and under assignments, you will have stock returns, part of your company project. Okay, so here you'll have instructions, and I'll follow these instructions. In class, we did this assignment using a PC. Today I'll do it with a Mac, so those who have a Mac will have another thing to follow. Okay, so your due date is here. This is how you get your instructions. Let's go to yahoofinance.com. Well, maybe it's finance.yahoo.com. And everyone needs to do an analysis based on the company that you chose at the beginning of the semester and was approved by me. I will follow Apple. So I can browse using my company's name, or I can use the ticker that we know is the unique letter symbol that represents your company. Here on the snapshot page, I go to historical data. And I want, when you look at these instructions, what you want is you want the last 5 years of data. So you want to change that. You want to change the frequency to monthly. And again, we change that frequency to monthly because daily or weekly changes in prices represent some what we call noise in the financial markets. So if you look at changes in the monthly prices, that will be smoothed out data that doesn't have just random information being priced into the markets, or just random buying and selling by different people who need to buy and sell. Okay, so don't forget to click apply, so you can see changes here. Okay, so I've got Apple, I've got my last 5 years. You can also change that date to be October 31st, and then just make sure you have 60 of the time series, and we'll do that. This is fine. Okay, so then you click download data and you open it. I chose to open it with my Microsoft Excel, but what typically happens is this data actually comes out as CSV. It's comma delimited format of a text file. So it's actually a text file that's comma delimited, meaning that these columns that you see here are actually, if you open it in the text file, they're just separated by commas. And that's how that's how the computer will know if you open it in Microsoft Excel. That's how the computer will know if this is how to separate columns. So what I will do here is I will save this. You can change file format. You just go to save as and save it as Excel workbook. Okay, for our purposes, we're not going to lose a lot of data, but if you were to do something more complicated, then you could run the risk of losing some of your analysis. Okay, so I'm going to change this to stock return analysis. Just save it as that, and I'll save it on my desktop. You save it wherever works for you. And notice that the CSV warning sign has escaped. So I have my Apple data. Now I'll go and get my benchmark data. So the easiest thing is, when you're on Yahoo Finance, right up top, there is actually a link for S&P 500 data. This is the ticker that you would need to use for the S&P 500 data. It's a ticker of the ETF fund. But we will go to historical data, and I'll do the exact same thing. I'm going to check the last 5 years. Okay, done. And I want to check monthly prices and apply. Then I click download. And again, I'll open this as such. And I want to have this information in one file. Okay, so what I can do is I will right click on my tab and I will choose to move or copy. If you want to create a copy and have this file separately, you can pick to create a copy and it will, both of these files will be active. But what I will do is I will choose to not create a copy. So when I click OK, that means that I'm moving this tab to my tab with Apple prices, and this file will just close on its own. So check this out. Okay, so I chose to move my file. Something. Let's see. Let's give it another try. Okay, so I will go and move this. Oh, I forgot. You need to pick where you want to move it to. So when you go to move or copy, you go to book. So I want to move it to my other book, and now I'm gonna move it to the end. Okay. If you don't choose to do that, you can easily rearrange by clicking the left mouse button and holding it, and then you can just rearrange it that way. Okay. It's not necessary. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So here I have some data points. I have my date, which is the day that my stock was traded. I have my open price, which is the first price at which the stock was bought or sold that day. I have my high price, so the highest price at which the stock was bought or sold. The low price would be the lowest price at which stock was traded. Close price would be a price at which it closed. That is the actual price at which the stock closed. But what we actually want to do is we want to use the adjusted close. The adjusted close represents the price adjusted for stock splits. And what you remember from class is stock splits is when a company decides that they want to lower a price of their stock to make it more attractive to investors. So what they do, they simply split the stock in half. So all the existing shareholders would now have double the number of stocks worth the same amount that it was worth before, but each individual 1 unit of stock will be trading for less money so that it will be more beneficial to, or more accessible to other investors. So since we can see a difference between adjusted and unadjusted close, we can infer that Apple has in the past split their stocks. One of the stock splits that I remember was in 2009 or 2008. They may have done more of that, and that's something, if you see something like that, you can Google that or just search that in your web engine to see whether your company had any stock splits. That shouldn't really affect our analysis as long as you use the adjusted close. Because if your data has a stock split in those last 5 years, then you'll see a big jump in returns that's not related to your to performance of the stock.